Welcome to Off the Wall. My name is Trey. Thank you so much for taking the time to check out the show this week. We've got another fun one for you. We've got the head coach of the San Diego Strike Force, Coach Taylor Genuser, on to talk about his journey through indoor football from a player, from his days playing with the Iowa Barnstormers, playing with the Duke City Gladiators, and a couple other teams, all the way to his time coaching the San Diego Strike Force over the past couple of years and what they've been able to build culture-wise and on the field with the Strike Force has been really cool to see. So we got a little peek behind the curtain as to how all that has come to be and what's next for the Strike Force. So really fun chat with Coach. I'm excited to dive into that in just a little bit. But before we dive into that, we got to do our social plugs. That's right. If you don't already, please make sure you follow us on all of our socials at Off the Wall FB, F as in foot, B as in ball, Off the Wall FB. All the links to all those are in the description below. So please make sure you're following along and joining the conversation on there as well. If you're watching on YouTube, hello, thank you for being here. Please make sure you're subscribing, liking the video, commenting below. Comment who you think is going to win the IFL championship this upcoming season. I think San Diego is very poised for a quite the season ahead of them. But let me know who you're liking so far. Same thing with Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Please make sure you're rating the show 5 stars preferably. But hey, do you? I trust your judgment. And let people know about the cool stuff that we're doing here. We've also got Off the Wall t-shirts on offthewallfb.com. Got a t-shirt there. Got a couple of these going out this week. So yeah, make sure you get your orders in ASAP as possible. I always include a few little goodies and knickknacks in the package with it as well. So get those orders in and we'll get that out as soon as we can. And then Royal Retros. Royal Retros, we have an affiliate link in the description below, as well as code Off the Wall that gives you 10% off your purchase. And the holiday season is right around the corner, and some of the custom jerseys take a little bit of time on Royal Retros to ship out. So if you're thinking about getting something for the holidays, now might be a good time to get that started and to get the ball rolling there. Again, use the affiliate link in the description below and use code Off the Wall for 10% off your purchase there. And let me know what you end up getting if you do buy something from there. There's a ton of cool stuff on there. But that's enough plugs. That's enough of that. Here is the interview with Coach Genuser. All right, on the show this week, we have one of my favorite coaches in the IFL who's been with the San Diego Strike Force. And he's had that offense soaring the past couple of seasons and looking to keep that thing going in 2026. His name is Coach Taylor Genuser. Coach, big thanks for taking the time to join today. It's great to see you. How are things going in your world?
I really appreciate you having me on. Things are going well over here. I'm excited. This offseason's been fun. What I love most is not a ton of turnover on the roster, but we've parted way with some new guys, with some guys, and brought in some new guys. So this offseason's been smoother than most, and I'm thrilled about it.
All right, we'll take that.
Absolutely.
We'll absolutely take that. Yeah, some of that roster turnover is great to see, especially considering how close that team was last year to making it to the championship game, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But to kind of get us kicked off here, tell us a little bit about your personal football journey and how you got involved with coaching in the IFL.
Well, so I was originally from Southern California in Orange County, but we moved up to Fresno when I was 7. So I pretty much kind of say I'm from Fresno for the most part. Played ball in Clovis Unified School District. And then I went to Buchanan High School and then ended up playing at 2 different junior colleges. Reedley College, where if you've heard of Reedley College, there's a pretty good quarterback named Josh Allen that went there a few years after I did. So Josh Allen came out of Reedley. I ended up transferring to College of Sequoias, COS, that's in Visalia. After that, I went to New Mexico Highlands University, Division II school. Probably one of the most talented Division II rosters that probably ever seen. It was wild. We had a great team there. And then I ended up getting banged up there, had a weird little transitional year, kind of knee injury. And this was in 2013. So I ended up playing, I laugh. They call it 37U now, on Instagram and all that stuff. So, I played one season of highly competitive 37U while kind of getting my knee right. And it was a very fun time. Learned a lot. I learned a lot about just, dang, I miss college and I'm blessed to still be playing, but I want to try to move up. That's kind of what I got from that. And then my rookie year, 2014 in Erie, PA, I played for the Erie Explosion. My first ever indoor game was against the late Jared Lorenzen, who was
Wow.
unbelievable.
Yeah.
And it's like, my first game ever, I'm trying to learn, figure out the rules. I get to watch him. Him and Nate get the ball out faster than anyone I've ever seen. Jared was getting the ball, boom, 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 all over the yard. And it was just fun to watch. And from game one of my career, I got to see that. And I always thought, get the ball out my hand, get the ball out my hand. I don't even need to take a drop, get the ball out my hand.
Yeah.
I had a cool rookie year. I was a backup that year. We won the championship. And then I ended up coming over to the IFL. And that was a wild year. That was 2015. I ended up playing for the Billings Wolves. And, I ended up playing 2 games. I got a bad concussion in my second game. Once I came off IR, ended up getting released. They kind of had their quarterback situation figured out while I was hurt. Ended up going to Duke City for a few weeks, and then ended up on my favorite IFL team that I played for, and that was Iowa. I loved every second of being a Barnstormer. Wow. Everything about being a Barnstormer was just something I really took pride in, and I was blessed to be a part of them in their inaugural IFL season. So well ran, fantastic. I was there with John Pettit. He was unbelievable. I learned everything that I needed to know at that point about how to be a pro from him. And, obviously it's sad to see him no longer with us, but he did tremendous things for our league. And I was blessed to be a part of his organization. And then I went back to Duke City the next year and then finished up as a Sioux City Bandit. And I had the time of my life playing in Sioux City as well. Loved it.
Awesome. So
kind of my indoor career. I ended up signing in 2018 to play, but then I just decided to get into coaching full time. Did 1 full year at home, kind of coaching high school, staying with my parents. I'm like, nope, ain't for me, ain't living at home. And then the Strike Force thing came up, and been here since.
That's incredible. Yeah, you've come up through the organization. You've been there since the very beginning. Going back to something you mentioned earlier, you're from Fresno. Did you grow up a big Fresno State fan?
Love the Bulldogs. Love them. I claim USC and Fresno State. Those are my two teams. So when they went at it back in the day, that game was just insane. It was like a dream to watch.
Yeah.
So love the Bulldogs. The fan base up there, the Red Wave, they are unbelievable. Fresno State's fan base is, like, I want to say second to none, but I can't. Obviously, there's big SEC programs, all these other big schools. But, like, when it comes to fitting people in that stadium, they do it. It is awesome.
Yeah. Usually a college that has a city name and then a state usually has a tough time, but Fresno State, they got it figured out. Like Fresno State and Boise State, those are the two where it's like, all right, they're good. They got a good thing going.
Fresno Boise games are insane. I've been to a few of them.
Yeah.
They're nuts.
Yeah.
So absolutely.
Yeah, well, I was going to ask, were you a big David and Derek Carr guy growing up? Kind of modeled the QB game after what you saw from them on the field?
I loved David. He was awesome. I was a kid when he was playing quarterback at Fresno State, and he was somebody I looked up to. Derek is a grade older than me. So my senior year, my dad took me to a David Carr quarterback clinic, and it was awesome. They had a long ball competition. They had this accuracy competition, and they had like an agility one. I ended up winning the long ball one. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's the coolest thing ever. So David gave me a $200 gift card to Nike ID. So David bought me my cleats my senior year. So
let's go.
Definitely a big David Carr fan, man.
Let's go. Shout out to David Carr.
Absolutely. And they do great things in the Fresno community. Yeah. David and Derek are awesome. They are all over Fresno doing great stuff. So, yeah, I love everything that they stand for.
Yeah, big shout out to them. Big shout out to the Carr guys.
Absolutely.
Well, you mentioned your favorite place being Iowa that you played in. What about Iowa? Like made it something where it's like, all right, this is home. Like, what was it a culture thing? Was it off the field plus on the field? Like, tell me more about that.
I was walking into an established culture. The first time I got to see the arena, I don't care about the locker room. I want to go see the field. Yeah. And I walk out there and see Kurt Warner's number 13 up there. I'm like, oh, this is the coolest thing ever. I'm like, these are the biggest shoes that you could possibly have to fill. And I wanted to take on that challenge. And, my first game there, hearing the cowbells, going crazy, feeling like we had a true home field advantage. Something about the uniforms just fit better. The goggles on the helmet, some people hate them. Some people love them. I love them. I think it's the coolest helmet. Now the Strike Force, I think we're competing with that helmet too.
Yeah, you're up there. Yeah.
So, but wearing the goggles, there's something about it. And I just really took pride in playing for them.
That's great. Well, did you know about the sport of arena football growing up? Like, you not super close to San Jose, but the SaberCats being not terribly far from you. Did you know about arena football?
Absolutely. So this is super random, but I will never cheer for a Bay Area team. It's not in my blood to cheer for a Bay Area team, but I knew about the SaberCats.
All right.
And for whatever reason, I chose the Barnstormers when I was a young kid watching arena football. It was just the Kurt Warner thing. I'm like, wow, Kurt Warner played arena, like he made it, to the NFL and all that. So as a young kid, I'm like, okay, cool. I'm watching arena football. Like, all right, I'm a Barnstormer fan. Can't stand the Bay Area, San Jose, whatever.
Yeah.
Well, obviously, San Jose is an amazing franchise. Yeah. I know a lot of people that were with that organization, but I obviously knew about the Rattlers, knew about the LA Kiss and all that. But yeah, I always kind of just followed the Barnstormers and cheered for them.
There you go. Well, it worked out very nicely that you got the opportunity to go play there.
Absolutely.
You also mentioned playing for that first year, playing in Erie with Coach Liotta. I just had him on the show a few weeks back, and that guy loves ball. Let me tell you, he can sit there and talk ball all day. What was it like, kind of learning the game from Coach and like you said, from the old hefty lefty Jared Lorenzen and all that?
It's Jeremy found me, his brother Jeremy. So Jeremy, I'm telling him right now, don't you ever say that I big time you, because I'm claiming it right now. Jeremy found me and brought me into the sport. So I was very blessed to, go out there, and Coach Liotta, he had me as his backup, and he was always teaching me. Scout team was very important for me, just kind of running the different offenses. Like, week 1, I had to be Jared Lorenzen, and like, I think it was week 3, I had to be Juice Williams. And those are the 2 big quarterbacks in our league. I remember Saginaw was pretty good. And, the league wasn't all that great, but there were great quarterbacks. I'm like, there's a lot of really good quarterbacks in this league. And there's some good receivers, and it was just fun to watch. And I just really listened to the things that he was saying and kind of soaked that in. Of course, I wish I was playing, and I wish I was starting and all that kind of stuff. But I felt like I really put myself in a good place to learn and develop, but still be ready to go if they need me.
Right. And I mean, that experience had to be crucial, instead of just getting thrown out there and getting beat up and being like, I'm trying to figure out what the hell's going on out here. Like, you got to at least learn a little bit. And I'm sure that translates now to when you have a young QB coming in to play behind Nate. You're like, all right, your time will come. Now's the time to learn. You can kind of pass that on to them.
Absolutely. And it's big. And obviously there's nothing wrong with being a rookie and going to being the starter.
Right.
It's just, you got to be able to kind of handle that pressure and understand, especially in our game, it's different than the 11-man game, you're coming from in college and stuff like that. But, I definitely benefited from watching that first year.
Yeah, for sure. Well, you were playing indoor ball before it kind of had its glow up in recent years, so to speak, as the IFL has kind of had some updates and upgrades along the way. What are some ways that the league and the sport as a whole has changed since the time that you played to where it is now?
I think it just kind of comes with the social media era. Of course, like, I had an Instagram back then and stuff like that, but it's just social media has just blown everything up. And just the fact that it's available, like, you have a show and other people are doing a good job covering it. This just wasn't around then. And that's the thing is, I feel like we've created a very good fan base league wide, and you guys do a great job of covering it. So honestly, it's just you guys being open to using your platform and taking your time to cover us. And then also Todd Tryon has done an unbelievable job with our league. Our league is clean. Like, it looks the part. The production is fantastic. And I just give a lot of credit to Todd and all the owners and the coaches that have been doing this for a while for getting us to the level that we're at.
Yeah, that's definitely one of the defining features of the league, just straight up appearance wise, right? Where you turn on a random IFL game, you know what you're going to get. You turn on a random other league game, you could be in for a rough viewing experience. So it's always good to be able to know what you're getting into.
Yep, some of those viewing platforms are a bit rough.
Yeah, they're a little rough. They're not as good as the IFL network was for this past first season. But you mentioned becoming the San Diego Strike Force OC in 2019. Had a gap years with COVID and everything, eventually coming back in 2022. What were some of the biggest learning curves you experienced settling into that OC role for the first time in the indoor game versus what you kind of experienced in that outdoor game?
Well, luckily for me, kind of playing for Coach Liotta and some of the other coaches that I've had, I already kind of had the offense ready to go. I remember when I got the job, I still got Coach Liotta's playbook and some other playbooks I've collected on the way. And I felt schematically, I'm not going to say I was ready to go, but I had an idea. So playing in that league, it's not like I'm coming from outdoor coaching to indoor coaching. It's like, okay, well, I'm not wearing a helmet now and I'm not making the decisions throwing the ball, but I have an idea of the scheme I'm going to run. And I remember trying to be the JV version of the Sioux Falls Storm, just try to figure it out, running their offense, doing their jets, because I got to play for Chris Dixon in Billings, and he showed me all the stuff that they did in Sioux Falls, and it was just so fun to watch. And then, when I played in Iowa, Joe Brandon, we threw the ball all over the yard, so that was kind of my air raid version of the stuff I learned. And then when I was in Sioux City, we're under center doing all these different fakes. I almost felt like an indoor wing T quarterback at times.
Wow.
But that Sioux Falls kind of base was the stuff I wanted to do. And, we weren't great, but you know what? We sure scored some points at times. But the biggest learning curve I had, to answer your question, is just recruiting, knowing where to go find players. I didn't have an agent when I was playing, so I didn't have a relationship with any agents. And, the recruiting thing was definitely the hardest thing for me to learn how to do.
Yeah, like that was going to be something I was going to ask you about. We'll jump to it now, about like the scouting process and recruiting process. Like, what does that look like at this level? And like, how much of it is observing college players versus scouting out players who may be already featured in the indoor game for a year or two? Like, how do you find the balance between the two?
To me, it's kind of, what's the philosophy of your recruiting? Now, we've been a team that's had a lot of vet players, and we keep a lot of guys that have been coached other places and they're ready to play right now. And then, we have those young guys that come in and they're trying to learn the game. So it's kind of a blend of what you're looking for. For us, it's limited at 7 veteran players, and some teams don't even have 7 on their team. For us, we're at that 7 mark, and, we got a lot of guys that have been with us and are now, year 3 now into year 4, and they're vets, and just kind of cycling that out. But, we get a lot of really good players that get cut from NFL mini camps or the CFL or the UFL. So I brought in Coach Shackelford last year, and Coach Shack, everyone knows him. He's the man, been a head coach in the IFL for a long time, and he's come in and really taught me how to recruit. And I mean, he knows everyone. So that's the biggest thing, is recruiting is a lot of who you know, and it's a lot about what your reputation is. If you're known for just kind of screwing players over all the time, like, these players talk and they know, and they don't want to play for you. But, when they can trust you, and of course, if a guy gets cut every now and then, they're going to go crazy and maybe say some things that they need to say. But, the majority of the guys have great things to say about you guys are going to be coming in.
Right. Well, you mentioned the vet rule, having that ceiling of 7. How do you kind of make those determinations on where on the roster those go? Like, it seems like the philosophy is plug them in at the key positions with like Nate at QB or Nesto at kicker, and then kind of fill in from there. Is it as simple as that, or is it a little bit more complex?
It can be as simple as that, but for us, it's want versus need. You may have a couple vets at the same position, and it's like, do we really need 2 vets at this spot? Okay, well, we got some young guys. Let's get rid of one of the vets here and put that vet on the other side of the ball or whatever. It's really just what we need, and it just makes it tough because you get guys that play hard for you, and you want to keep them, but it's like, okay, well, you're a vet now. Like, we can't treat you like the other whatever position you are in the room. It's, you're now competing against 6 others, to be a part of that 7.
Right. Yeah, it seems like it's a whole complicated equation, trying to find the balance of getting that experience, but at the same time staying youthful for the rest of the roster.
Experience is important, right? Like, it's hard getting vets that don't come in with a high football IQ. When you have vets, to me, they should understand the indoor game thoroughly. I really don't want to waste my time on somebody who's a vet that hasn't played this game. Like there's no point.
True. Yeah.
There's a gap removed from college. You're 28 or older, and it's like you don't understand this game. So if I'm going to use that spot, that person better be able to come in here and help elevate the room.
Right. Yeah, like kind of be a coach on the field at times to help when, be the voice when you can't be the voice in those situations.
Look at our coaching staffs. Do you see a whole bunch of guys wearing hats and polos and headsets? There's not many of them.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So the vets, they got to hold it down for us and be leaders. And also you get these young guys, they're fresh out of college, which means what? They don't have class. So I need these vets to be an example of how to spend their days.
Right.
So video games and chasing around doing all that, it's going to catch up to you.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Go from a day that's being very structured to suddenly it's on you. That's a big change that not everyone can handle.
There's no doubt. So
you've been the head coach role since taking over in 2022, getting better every year. Seems like every year is taking a step in the right direction. What are some of the off the field things that you think have contributed to the turnaround of the franchise since you've been the head coach?
For us, recruiting. When I kind of got handed the keys, I just really wanted to change the way we recruited and really kind of open it up more nationally, not necessarily regionally. Of course, California, I'm going to claim California as one of the best football states. Find as many California guys as we can. But California guys also go play football elsewhere, and they're not all just sitting around at home. So I got to go pick and choose kind of nationwide. And that was the biggest thing, was just expanding our recruiting. And then also bringing in Coach Shaq last year and really kind of getting more contacts through him from, CFL, UFL, colleges and all that stuff. Changing recruiting has really, really helped us in our off seasons. And for me personally, just finding I can't be a good leader if I can't lead myself. So I've been trying to do a lot of personal growth and stuff like that, and maybe studying some things that I had no interest in a few years ago. And personal growth for me has been a lot, because I know that if I kind of have my stuff together, I feel comfortable leading.
Nice. Okay. So what are some of the, if you don't mind me asking, like, what are some of those personal growth things that you've been kind of taking on during the off season?
Since 2022, I'm not wearing a 2XL shirt anymore. Now I'm down to a large. So
I've noticed. Yeah. Look at you go.
Really kind of getting in the weight room and just taking better care of myself, learning about nutrition, and me kind of learning more about nutrition. I'm going to call out Vander right now, our running back. I pick Vander's brain about everything he eats. Everything. I'm like, Vander, what the heck are you eating? Oh, coach, this is what I got right here. Hey, you got to try it, coach. Like all that, right? Vander got me wearing a sauna suit, all that. Like I wear a sauna suit every practice because of Vander. And for me, like, I would have never had that conversation with him about that stuff if I wasn't trying to better myself. And for me, why am I going to go look online on YouTube videos, this, that, and the third, when I'm literally recruiting some of the best athletes around? So I'm going to go be like, hey, bro, what are you doing? I need to figure that out. So shout out to Vander. He helped get me going on this weight loss and kind of strength journey that I got.
Let's go. Yeah, love me some Vander. He's one of my favorite players to watch on Twitter, X. I always do the hashtag feed Vander whenever he scores a touchdown. It's a scene. I love that guy so much. He's
awesome. He's one of the most unselfish guys that I've ever been around. He's legit. He doesn't say anything. I have to ask him, like, hey, you okay? Yeah, I'm good. I'm good to go. And Vander's the kind of guy that when he talks, I listen, because he's not just going to say anything just because.
Yeah. No wasted breath there.
No doubt. He's using all his breath running people over.
Exactly. Yeah. That's what that is. Well, one of the biggest roster moves you've made over the past couple of years was trading for Nate Davis in 2023. How did that come about? And transparently, how do trades work in the IFL? Because it seems like there's a lot of behind the scenes conversations that have to take place for some of these things to happen.
Well, football in general, like compared to other sports, like if I could just kind of talk about baseball for a
Yeah.
second. In baseball, you got all these games that you play. You get to that trade deadline, and it's like, okay, who's selling? In baseball, you can go get a guy as a rental, and he can go play third base the next night, or he can go pitch the next night. When you trade for a quarterback, you got to teach him the offense.
Yeah.
Not easy. So we had an in-season trade with Duke City, and it was a wild one. It ended up being a 4-for-1 deal, and then some other things kind of happened and stuff like that, flights and whatever. But it was wild, and I just knew that we needed a boost with our offense. I knew that I needed some more veteran presence in our locker room, and for whatever reason, they were willing to have these conversations, and we got it done.
Yeah, it sounds like it. Yeah, it seems like the moment Nate stepped foot into the San Diego locker room, just things started to skyrocket for the Strike Force.
He's great. With him, he's seen it all. I met Nate while I was playing in the CIF. I was in Duke City. He was in Amarillo. And all right, I'm gonna throw this out there for my guy Nate. So he was playing quarterback and jack linebacker. So Nate was a two-way player in the CIF. Ask him about it. Yep, okay. He'll tell you all about it. So he'll tell you all about it. So it was fun to watch. Like, I'm playing on the field, and the starting quarterback's at Jack Backer. I'm not throwing him a pick.
No, can't do absolutely that. Not. No.
So I joke around and call him Shohei Ohtani. So I said, your Ohtani days are done. But yeah, I call him Ohtani every now and then. I don't want to let that get to his head by any means. But right. Yeah, every now and then I have to remind him.
Yeah, especially how what Ohtani did the past couple of weeks. Whew,
don't get me started.
That guy is.
I'm not allowed to disclose my favorite MLB team, okay. But my favorite MLB team just won the World Series, so there we go.
There you go. Well,
but I got a ton of love for the Padres. I'm not a Padre hater. I got
you. Yeah,
I gotta throw that out. I only hate the Giants. That's it.
Yeah, there you go. That's fair.
Gotta throw that out there.
Well, I see the words future considerations get thrown around a lot. Yeah. What does that mean, especially at this level? Because it seems like it could be anything from, hey, we scratch you back now, you'll scratch our back later, or is it a literal transaction? What does it mean?
I think that the official future considerations rule in our ops manual should be just how you said it. We'll scratch your back now, you scratch our back later. That's really what future considerations are. Yeah. It's like, you have a need for this. We may not necessarily have a need for what you're trying to give us right now, so we'll talk down the road.
Okay.
Whether that's a player to be determined later, like I'll throw an example out there. A future considerations trade would be, I give you a quarterback, and I tell you, hey, when it's time for you at the end of camp to cut an offensive lineman, please call me before you put them on transactions. You could get that put in writing and kind of do it like that. So I feel like it doesn't get abused like sometimes maybe people say about futures. But it's just a good way to move people around and make sure that there's still something accounted for on the back end.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that makes a little more sense. Yeah, because I see that all the time, and I'm like, what does this mean? Like, is there a database that says like, all right, San Diego is owed 2 future considerations and Arizona's owed 3? Like, does that exist, or is it just like hey, it's on you to kind of keep track of that yourself?
There's a trade form that goes between both teams and goes straight to the league office. So the league office kind of holds the teams accountable for that.
Got it. Okay, cool. So it's not as loosey-goosey as it seems on the surface. It's nice and buttoned up. That's good. Well, San Diego games, they've been an absolute thrill ride these past couple seasons. Like, you want to talk about some classics, California clash with the Bay Area Panthers, some shootouts with Vegas and Arizona. Do you have a game or a moment that sticks out to you when looking over these past couple of years is like, wow, what a game?
There's been quite a few, but our first playoff win, which was up at Bay Area, was a pretty surreal feeling. I mean, this is going to sound crazy, but we all played Madden, we've all played NCAA, and we've all been accused for going for something on 4th and 20 in a position where you have no business going for it on. we were at Bay Area. We were backed up. We were down. And, on fourth and I think it was 4th and 18, 4th and 20, we went for it. Nate, of course, buys some time, throws a dig, flips the field. When, if we go try to kick a field goal and it's short, that could be 6 going the other way. Yeah. Try to kick it out of bounds, whatever, this and that. It was just like, for me, I was just like, whatever, let's go rock out. And they got us down the field. We went and scored. And we ended up winning that game. And it's just the feeling that we had in the locker room was definitely surreal. I felt like we checked off a milestone. I felt like we were mature enough to win that game, but we weren't necessarily mature enough to go win the next one. And that's what bothers me, is that I felt like we kind of peaked at that Bay Area game. We probably could have gone and played better at Arizona, but we got that one done. We just weren't quite ready to be champions that year, unfortunately.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. And anytime I have somebody come up to me or message me about the IFL, my go-to game is San Diego, San Antonio, 2024. I think it was 69-61. Nate Davis for Sam Castronova. Just insane. Absolute thrill ride. I was taking. I'm on Eastern time, so it was like 1:00 in the morning where I'm at. I'm like, this game is incredible. It's the best game ever played.
Nuts. That game. It's hard. Gosh, that feels like so long ago. That's insane. Right. I remember Sam was going crazy, and he's like a machine. Like, I remember, like, I tried to kind of like joke with him during the game, and he was just stone cold. No. Like he wasn't giving us nothing. I wasn't talking any crap. I'm like, dude, calm down, take it easy.
Yeah.
One of those. He's so dialed in. It's funny because I call him Russell Westbrook. He's just a triple-double machine. Like, he goes out there and gets buckets. And then you got Nate, who, may as well call him Steph Curry. He's good from everywhere. You know what I'm saying? He's out there doing his thing, and just watching the two of them go at it. And then Arthur with the game-winning touchdown. That was definitely a fun one. And man, that was a heck of a home. Yeah, it was a home opener. We had a game before. That was their first game. Yeah, that was a heck of a game, man.
Yeah, that was a late night, but I was wired. I was like, I'm not going to sleep anytime soon now. That game was absolutely incredible. Yeah, so that's always one. I'm like, if you're going to look at one, that's the one. That'll get you hooked on the IFL if you're not already.
That's a good one. I mean, like, look at the championship game this year. Okay. Mm-hmm. In my opinion, the last couple of championship games have not been fun to watch, right? Because it was kind of score differential. This game, the only stop of the game was the last play of the game.
Yeah.
And when I did an interview with you there, I remember telling you, I just want to see who gets the first stop.
Yeah, you did.
We saw it with 0 on the clock.
Yeah, with no time left. Yeah.
Unbelievable. So it's just you get games like that, and then you get games where defenses show up. And I'm not saying their defenses were there. Obviously, they give up some scores, but those are some high-powered offenses. I mean, these games are insane. They're fun to watch, and I love the fact that you can run the football in this game because you can kind of put together the outdoor version of a 4-minute offense versus throw every play. And trust me, I'm a quarterback guy. I love throwing the ball, but I love the balance of it. You can kind of close the game out, or it's like, oh, they just got to stop. Offense got the ball back. We can go score. I've seen 4 or 5 possessions in 1 minute in the game before.
Right. Crazy. Yeah. The final minute of an indoor and arena football game it's not a minute, not even close. It's like 20, 25 minutes at times where you're like,
it's like an NBA game, but worse.
Yeah. It's like, man, we can't get to halftime here. Like, this is just nuts. But speaking of nuts, I want to talk about the Strike Force Rattlers playoff game from this past year. If you're listening to this podcast, you probably know what I'm referring to, but just to sum it up, San Diego is down in Arizona, first round of the playoffs, driving down the field, game clock winding down, get the snap off with like a second left, score a touchdown to tie it up. To say there was hooting and hollering would be an understatement after that game and that week after. Ultimately, San Diego wins. A lot of harsh words being thrown around from various folks, but tell me about that last drive, about that game, and how everything kind of unfolded from your perspective after that.
Well, I'm going to snitch on Coach Guy right now, and I'm going to say this. I don't know a better coach in the IFL at managing the last possession than him.
Yeah.
So, and that's at the end of a half. That's at the end of a game. So I'm just going to be honest with you. I told Nate when we started that drive, do not give Arizona the ball back with double-digit time.
Okay.
10 or more, good luck. It's going to be tough.
Yep.
And I've seen the Rattlers do crazy stuff, and they're at home and all that kind of stuff. You know, their fan base rallies behind them, and I respect it. So Nate takes it literal. Okay, I got you. So that casual walking around and stuff like that, yes, it was a bit casual. But all I want to ask is, if you would have snapped it a half second sooner, are those harsh words going to be coming out? Because we still scored a touchdown.
Right.
That's my biggest thing. So, we could have been slightly cleaner. Nate could have been maybe a little more urgent, but that's not Nate's style. He can go walk off in walk-off fashion.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. And sure, there was some controversy. I definitely learned a lot more from that situation about what I need to coach. And I feel like I'm very obsessive over here's the coaching point that I give our guys. Assume that the umpire is the most unathletic human being you've ever seen in your life, and hand them the ball on a silver platter and make it easy for them to grab it and spot it. Right. That's one thing I emphasize while coaching that situation. But hey, now I know I got to tell Nate, hey, let's be a little quicker on that one and get things rolling and stuff like that. So it was a fun one. And I just want to put aside maybe some of the things that are said between the two teams. The passion's real. And I'm not going to sit here and say we're established enough to be a 30-year organization like the Rattlers, but our rivalry is real. And document that. Bay Area is gone, unfortunately. I love that they're not here. That was our rival. That was our battle of California. And now that they're gone, you know, we've got tough rivalries with Vegas and Arizona. And you know, I'm just happy to be relevant enough as an organization to give Arizona good games. Because I go back to 2019, running a 4-minute offense at the end of a game because I don't want KG to put 100 on us. I'm just being honest. And I've told KG that. I said, I'm a long way from those days, coach. Like, hey, that was some of the scariest stuff I've ever seen. Like, I'm not trying to have that happen. So having those classics against a team like Arizona, that's where I kind of am proud of where we're at as an organization and kind of personally of where I'm at.
Yeah, that is the rivalry of the IFL heading into next season, just based on like some of the games that you've played during the regular season and even the year before, they were back and forth affairs too. So it's not just that one game. Like those games are always really dynamic.
There's no doubt. I got a lot of love for what they do over there, and you know, they get 1 million fans in the building. You know, their fan base rolls deep. They're at away games, and hey, I'm just going to tell Rattler fans right now, I love y'all. We're going to keep going at it. But you know, let's gear up for another fun year. Let's just keep the love at the end of it, though. That's all I'm going to say. And I'm guilty of it too. We gotta, you know, let's keep going crazy, but let's be a little more peaceful at the end of it. That's all.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I'm glad you brought up the casualness of Nate at the end of that game, because again, I'm on the East Coast. It's like past midnight where I'm at. I'm standing in my living room, like hands on my head, like, no, like I just saw the clock going down. I'm like, come on, Nate, get over there. And the way that all went down, I was like, man, what an ending. What an ending to a playoff game, nonetheless.
There's no doubt. I mean, it's nice that like I don't personally have to scramble and yell like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Like, I know he knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
And that's what's nice about that situation. I wish he'd do it. Know what he's doing a half second sooner, but you know what? Hey, it all worked out. We ended up moving on.
Yeah, I remember you grabbed him and had a little conversation on the field. I was like, what is being said right now? He's probably like, thank you, but don't do that again, please. It was one of those conversations.
I'll tell you what I said to him. I said, hey, they're not overturning that. I hope you know this. You better get ready to go hold a game-winning PAT. And I said, I love you, but you know what? We got one more play, so I need you to hold the heck out of this. Hey, Ernesto, get ready to go. We still got to kick a PAT.
For sure, yeah.
In that situation, like, okay, let's face it. We've all watched the football game, and your second quarter PAT rush, you know, isn't going to be as intense as this is the last play of a playoff game rush. And
your season is on the line. Yeah.
Your season's on the line.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you right now, Coach Jarnigan runs the special teams over there. He is not going to have a soft pass rush over there. So I'm a little nervous at that point. Like, let's make sure we protect Ernesto, make sure we get the ball up in the air, and boom, we executed. But I was just nervous of thinking, like, we got to go kick that PAT. We better not take a play off. The game is not over because that thing gets blocked. Now we got to play the Rattlers in overtime at their house.
Yep.
Hey, I mean, we'll do what we got to do, but that's not something I want to do.
No, absolutely. It's not recommended.
Yeah.
Not recommended. Well, what happened the next week? So not referring to like the game itself, but Strikeforce was the higher seed than Vegas. Game ended up being played in Vegas. It left a lot of people confused. If you can't talk about it, that's fine. But I know people would roast me if I didn't ask. So like what exactly happened that ended up having that game being played in Vegas?
Circumstances that were out of my control. And I probably am a little bit less confused than you are about the situation, but I'll leave it like this. I'm still confused.
Okay.
Frustrated, pissed.
Yeah.
It is what it is. For me, it's just like it was hard because we played that Rattler game on a Monday in Arizona. Yep. And then we had to turn around and play Friday on the road. And I mean, like, my players reacted better than I did to it. When I got the news, I was very pissed off. And when Dallas Daniels came up to me and said, "Coach, I don't even care. We'll play him in a parking lot. Like, let's go." Like, that told me everything I need to know. Like, okay, I need to stop tripping over this. And I mean, for me, with the role I'm in, like, I'm a player advocate. I'm their voice. So I'm going to my people and saying what I need to say and this, that, and the third. But when Dallas told me that, I said, well, if I lose this fight, I know that he's going to have us ready to go. Obviously, we fell short. It's hard. Our DBs have to go cover high motion again, if a day sooner and in a location that's different. And I knew it was going to be tough. Vegas's receivers are unbelievable and they're tall. And there's a reason that we got taller because I've seen Vegas. I call them trees over there. They have trees all over their offense, and then we got taller. So I was a little nervous, not to call our defense out, but it's hard to do that in such short amount of time. And I was just worried kind of about our guys getting healthy and having to play all those snaps. But I'm telling you right now, did we play the cleanest game on both sides? We did not. But the fight that we had, I was very proud of our guys in that playoff game. And, the wheels just kind of fell off in the end. And Vegas is an unbelievable team. Starting the year, you got the former MVP, or I'm sorry, the reigning MVP, Ja'Rome, unbelievable quarterback. And then, you get Delora. The first time all year he played was against us. It was the first or second time. And he's unbelievable. And it's hard to contain those guys for 4 quarters and for us a 5th quarter. And, they got the best of us. Yeah.
I mean, it came down to the wire again. So it was the second time in 5 days that you had a game come down to the wire. And like I said earlier, you've been getting closer and closer each year. So I'm excited to see what 2026 looks like as you continue to build out the roster and hope to make that next step to the IFL National Championship. But you're not just a fan of indoor football, you're a fan of the game of footy as well, specifically a big Liverpool guy.
I am.
What's the fandom origin story? How does a kid from California become a Liverpool fan?
Oh man, my cousins are going to be thrilled that you asked me that. So, for me, like, I love studying sports, and when it comes to football, my favorite football team is always going to be the one I'm coaching, right? So that's how I always am. So I like watching other sports, and if you're at a tailgate, I'm that person. I just have to coach the game. That's my biggest thing. Like, I'm one of those fans, right? So when I go to a baseball game or a soccer game or a basketball game, I feel like I know how to be a fan. And, one day I saw a soccer game with my cousin. It was the Champions League final against Real Madrid. And I was watching Liverpool. I'm like, man, this is fun to watch. This is crazy. It sounds like an SEC football game. The songs are in unison.
Right.
The all players do is flop, this, that, and the third. Like, sure, there is some of that, but when they're not flopping, it's pretty impressive. It's like, I think about Jamar Chase, if he was a soccer player, like, what could he do on that kind of a field and stuff like that? And that's what you see when you go over to Europe. You get those quality athletes on the field. And then I started playing FIFA, and my cousin's a big Liverpool fan. He influenced me into doing it. But then when it came down for me to, want to pick a team, I I studied their coach, Jurgen Klopp, and he's awesome. I loved learning about the communication and the scheme and how he is in the media, and then also looking at the culture that they had prior as a club, and it was just the right fit for me. And the whole "You'll Never Walk Alone" thing really sticks near and dear to me. I'm looking at my scarf over in front of my TV. It's something very important to me. The lyrics to that song is in my kitchen. My mom has it. My boss PK has it. So "You'll Never Walk Alone" is something that's very near and dear to my heart. And going out there and experiencing, like, if a team wins today, that means the town's going to have a good week. The team lost today, that means they're going to have a stressful week. It's crazy. And I love every bit of watching it.
Yeah. And do you take any of those like leadership elements and, kind of incorporate them into what you've been doing with the Strike Force?
There's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Is there one or two that comes to mind?
It's really just the ability to get to know, like, have a conversation that's not sports related. Mm-hmm. Like, ask them about their families, not just, hey, I need you to do this on the field. Hey, I need you. Hey, come here. What's going on at home? How are you? Just like getting to know the person is what I've kind of learned from a lot of my, I want to call them mentors, but people that I've watched and kind of never met. And watching them coach and execute at a high level. It's just the personal relationship between you and your players, I think, is very important. And what's impressive about soccer is Jurgen Klopp's German, but he's communicating to guys speaking all these different languages from all over the world. Like, your communication skills got to be top notch. And to mention Shohei Ohtani again, it's not like soccer clubs have a different translator for every single different language. Like, you got to find a way to talk to these guys.
Yeah. Yeah. So, it always blows my mind to see some of these rosters. It's like, all right, you got a guy from Brazil, you got a guy from South Korea, you got a guy from Germany. It's like, God, how do you make it work? But they find a way. So that's cool.
Absolutely. But no, it's fun. It's not something people ask me about, like how I got into it. So I appreciate you giving me the platform to talk about it. But yeah, the "You'll Never Walk Alone" thing is very near and dear to me.
That's awesome. Well, this has been really fun. I really appreciate you taking the time to hop on here and talk shop about your time with the Strike Force and everything. What's next? Heading into 2026, kind of got most of the roster filled out at this point, but what's next for the Strike Force as we, close in on 2026 and get the ball rolling on preseason sooner than later?
Well, biggest thing is, waiting for this schedule to drop. Yep. So my fun job of looking at flights and getting with our bus company and all that, getting that locked in. I'm excited to get that out the way because I always feel like as soon as I book flights and buses, season's here.
Okay.
Season's here, ready to go. Continuing to call our guys and check in with them. And my biggest thing is I call it open gym. If they ever want to call me and just talk ball, whether I'm driving or if I can get online, whatever, I call it open gym. Like, let's call and talk ball. And I want to know, like, what did you run in college? What kind of stuff? Like, what did you call this concept in college? And I like to hear, like, oh, okay, he calls that Y cross. Oh, he's an air raid guy. Okay, boom, this is our version of Y cross. Oh, okay. Running Chevron Exxon stuff. Oh, you're part of the snag game. Okay, that's you played some of that Tony Franklin stuff. I like hearing what they ran in college and how I can kind of blend what we're doing with what they've already done. Because for me, if you're coming to our league to develop and move up, then why wouldn't I incorporate some outdoor football into what we do?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So, and I'm constantly learning from them. They say they have a college playbook. I never say, oh, leave the room. Come here. Let me see it.
Yeah. Let's take a look.
Yeah. So, no, I'm excited. For us, we're just continuing to grow as a front office and, we're trying to grow our fan base. I love being up in Oceanside, brand new arena up there. We played there last year for the first time. I love where we were, but we were 7-1 at home. That was unbelievable.
Right,
true home field advantage for us. And even our first game of the year, which we lost, like, we didn't get blown out. It was a close game. It was a very close game. And we did some things to shoot ourselves in the foot that game. And they did some things to take advantage of us shooting ourselves in the foot. But 7-1 at home is big. And I just want to keep encouraging our fans. Like, it's huge. You guys are a big part of what we're trying to do, and bring your friends.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, you guys are building up a little fortress there over in Oceanside. So
absolutely.
All right, sweet. Well, this has been fun. Like I said, best of luck in 2026, and I'm sure we'll stay in touch. All right.
Thank you. And are we going to get you out to a game this year?
Well, we'll have to see. We'll have to see how the schedule lines up. When you start looking at flights, I'll start looking at flights.
I got you. Well, we'll look at the schedule and we'll get something figured out. But I appreciate what you do. I'm pretty sure my nephew follows you on all your platforms and watches all
No,
your
let's go.
stuff. So I appreciate. I got to shout out my nephew Casey. So that's my dog, biggest IFL fan that I know.
Let's roll.
So yeah, man, I appreciate what you do. I can tell you he's watching.
Let's go. Shout out to Casey.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you, brother.
Big thanks again to Coach Genuser for joining the show and talking shop and getting a little peek behind the curtain as to what is to come for the San Diego Strike Force in 2026. I'm excited about the roster they're building, returning a lot of really great players from that team that was inches away from making the IFL National Championship last year, and they've gotten better every single year since Coach has taken over that squad. So I'm very excited to see them take the field, and they're looking like they got to be one of the favorites heading into the IFL season in 2026. And big shout out to his nephew as well for supporting the show and doing all that. So make sure you follow the San Diego Strike Force and Coach Genuser in the social links below in the description. Scroll down just a little bit more. Right there. Give them a follow and let them know you heard them on Off the Wall. We're going to dive right into the IFL news from the past week or so. Not a whole lot of stuff going on right now, but there were some notable signings that are worth touching on. And we'll start in San Diego. San Diego signed running back David Elder, who spent some time with the Northern Arizona Wranglers this past couple seasons. And this loaded offense in San Diego just gets even deeper. They already have Ed Vander at running back. They already have Nate Davis at quarterback. They have an offensive line that's returning a lot of depth and talent from last year. They've got a defensive front that's going to be very, very good as well. And they just keep adding more and more weapons to this roster. And David Elder was a really, really good player for Northern Arizona over the past couple of seasons. And I would imagine that they probably use him in more of a flex wide receiver running back role with Vander back there, but I could easily see them rotating in and out, keeping both of them fresh because Elder's very dynamic, and I could see him potentially doing kickoff return duties as well. He ran a couple back last season for the Wranglers, and he's just very dynamic no matter where they put him on the field. And you put a dynamic playmaker in the same offense as Nate Davis, I have a feeling he'll find a way to get him the ball. So I'm excited to see that. And San Diego's just looking really, really good with the core that they're bringing back. And the offseason is young. They still got some time to go. So we could see even more splash signings here sooner than later. But San Diego's looking really, really nice right about this time. We're going to flip over to New Mexico now. And New Mexico Chupacabras, the newest IFL team, signed Maurice Ashley, wide receiver, who was signed with the Oregon Lightning until he was released a few days ago or a week back, presumably to enable him to sign with the Chupacabras. He's a very versatile player. They run the ball in Oregon. They ran the ball with him. They were using him in the passing game. They used him in kick returns. They used him on the kickoff team to defend the kickoff. They used him all over the field, and I think that's going to be a really crucial player for this Chupacabras team coming up in their inaugural 2026 season, where in any indoor and arena football team, you need those versatile players, and you need those players that can do more than just run and catch. They got to be able to contribute on special teams. They got to be able to contribute in multiple ways because the roster limitations are what they are. They're limitations, and there's not a whole lot of bodies on the roster to begin with. So Maurice Ashley, he provides a nice versatile piece to this offense and special teams that is going to be important for this team to be successful in their first year. But the quarterback position is also extremely important for any indoor and arena football team. And the Chupacabras signed Ja'Rome Johnson, 2024 IFL MVP, who spent the 2025 season with the Vegas Nighthawks. And he had signed with the Albany Firebirds in this offseason, which was a pretty shocking signing, jumping from the IFL to the AF1. And Albany had a couple different quarterback options, and they were going to have a pretty crowded quarterback room, but Ja'Rome decided to, I guess, go sign with New Mexico. Not sure how everything's going to work out with his rights still technically being signed to the Firebirds and the AF1, but then signing with the New Mexico Chupacabras. At the time of recording this, I don't think the transaction was officially listed on the IFL's website, and I don't think he's officially been released by the Albany Firebirds just yet. So this could be an interesting situation where we got to see, okay, does Albany just release the player? Does the AF1 potentially suspend Johnson for breach of contract. Technically, I think that's a little silly, but we've seen it happen in the past. But it's looking like Ja'Rome is going to be the quarterback for the New Mexico Chupacabras, reuniting with his offensive line coach from the past couple of seasons, Kyle Moore-Brown, who was the offensive line coach for the Vegas Nighthawks and really got that offense going with that very, very formidable front line. And this Ja'Rome Johnson news, that's big, because I think he's going to make a bigger impact with the Chupacabras than he would have with the Albany Firebirds. I feel like the IFL game fits his specific skill set and his style a lot better than the Albany, than the AF1 game and the Albany playbook that we've seen Coach Damon Ware run the past couple of seasons. So it's a great signing, I think, for all parties involved. And when you think about it from Albany's perspective, the quarterback decision got a little bit easier, where they had 3 really talented quarterbacks heading into camp at that point, and they were probably letting go of at least one of them. So it might have made things a little bit easier. But yes, Ja'Rome Johnson is going to be with the Chupacabras in 2026. The last thing we're going to touch on with the IFL is the Green Bay Blizzard, or should I say the Green Bay Area Blizzard, or is it the Green Bay Area Panthers? Because they've been signing a lot of former Bay Area Panthers the past couple of weeks. This past week, they signed Jamie Navarro, Jonathan Ross, and then Landry Mayungu, O-line, DL, and DB, all from Bay Area, and they're heading over to Green Bay. They're joining former Bay Area players, wide receiver Trayvon Alexander, and then DB Frankie West Jr. So that's 5 players right there coming from that Bay Area team that was super talented and very, very good last year, coming over to Green Bay after Bay Area went dormant for the 2026 season. So you look at 5 players coming over, that's nearly a quarter of the roster. That's maybe 20% of an entire roster going to another team within the league. So that's huge. And whatever the bridge is, whatever the connect is with Green Bay, it's bringing over some really quality players. And each of those players was really, really good for the Bay Area Panthers last year. Trayvon Alexander at wide receiver, he would stretch the field, and he's just a very large target. Frankie West Jr. and then Landry Mayungu, they were all over the place in that secondary as they were growing into the game. And Jamie Navarro was really, really good on that offensive line, and Jonathan Ross at times could be a game wrecker. So each of those players fills some much needed holes for the Green Bay Blizzard. And I think the only thing at this point for the Green Bay Blizzard is figuring out what they're going to do at quarterback, because they're returning a ton of talent, maybe get a few more skill position players on the offensive side of the ball. But the quarterback position is going to be the biggest thing for them, trying to figure out how do you replace 2025 IFL MVP Max Myler, who's going over to the Arizona Rattlers, as we learned over the past month or two since that happened. What was that? That was like a month ago that happened at this point. So Green Bay area, whatever you want to call them, they're loading up on some talent, and they're replacing some pieces, and they're going to be a new looking ball team in 2026 as San Diego brings back a ton of familiar faces, as Arizona kind of goes a bit of a facelift on offense. Green Bay is going to look like a whole new roster, and we'll have to see if they can pick up where they left off with some of the new pieces that'll be in play. We're going to flip over to the AF1 now, and not a ton to officially talk about just yet, but the biggest thing I think from this past week is talking about the Oceanside Bombers. It's looking like they're a go for 2026 in the AF1. They haven't officially been announced, haven't officially seen that press release, but there have been some indications from some AF1 folks on socials that they're going to be in the AF1 for 2026. I'm not sure I see the path here. I'm just going to be very honest with whoever's watching, whoever's listening to this. It seems like they have a lot of work to do to be able to play in 2026. They were putting out posts on social media looking for head coach, offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, and then every position coach possible. And it's November 5th. Granted, the season kicks off in April. There's plenty of time to build that out. But when you look at the progress that some of the other teams have already made, it kind of makes you think at this point, what would the roster look like if they were to start now? one of the challenges for, now this isn't the same league, but one of the challenges for the Northern Arizona Wranglers last year, when they hired their new coach in Ron James, was that I had a chance to speak with him at the IFL National Championship. And I think he mentioned this in an interview with Shady Sports, is that when you start recruiting in October, a lot of the talent in this indoor and arena game is already accounted for, is already assigned specifically on the line. I think the line play is very underrated in the indoor and arena game. And a lot of the talented players from all leagues that play on the line, they're accounted for. They're signed at this point. So if you don't even have a coach, you don't even have coordinators, I just don't know if they do end up fielding a team in 2026, how competitive will they be? It's hard to tell. And then you mix in the fact that they're in Oceanside, California. The San Diego Strike Force are also in Oceanside, California. So this is going to be, I'm not sure this has ever happened where an indoor football team and an arena football team share the same venue during the same year. So do we see a potential of the Strike Force playing a game on Saturday and the Bombers playing a game on Monday? Do we see Bombers playing a game on Thursday and then Strike Force playing a game on Friday of the same week? It could happen if what the leagues are saying is true in regards to AF1 with Oceanside playing in 2026. It's going to be very interesting to see how it plays out. I don't think that's ever happened before, and it just seems like there's a lot of work to do for Oceanside, and we'll have to just see how it goes. It seems like they're going to have to depend on a ton of local talent instead of being able to look nationwide at this point. There's just a lot of questions, a lot more questions than answers, in my opinion. And I hope for the best. But to me, I think it would have been a little bit of a safer play to say, hey, we're gonna start in 2027, give you a full year of runway. But we've seen that with like the Stockton Crusaders. They got a full year of runway, and we haven't heard anything. They've been posting AI jersey concepts for 18 months at this point. So maybe the year runway isn't the best thing for it. I don't know. Let me know what you think in the comments about this whole Oceanside and San Diego potentially sharing the same venue in the same city of Oceanside, California. It's a very interesting case study, and it's going to be a very interesting situation to see unfold and what ends up happening, how it ends up happening. And when we look back on the 2026 season this time next year, will it be the signs were there, of course this didn't work, or will it be look at them, they got it done and they made it happen? I don't know at this point. Then one other piece of news I wanted to hit on was the Beaumont Renegades announced the signing of defensive lineman Jeremiah Spicer. This was already signed a few months back, or maybe like a month back or so, but Beaumont has just been recently getting active on the socials, and they just started announcing some of those signings. And Jeremiah Spicer, he's a very good pass rusher. He played about half a season for the Oregon Lightning last year and was very disruptive. He was amongst the league leaders in sacks, a lot of those sacks coming against the Washington Wolfpack, so take it with a slight grain of salt. But that defensive line is already going to be lethal with you talking about J.D. Griggs, talking about Jeremiah Spicer. They got really good defensive linemen. They got really good linebackers. So it seems like this Beaumont team is really running it back with a lot of the same players from their championship NAL season, but then adding some of those folks with arena football pedigree like Jeremiah Spicer, who's played the arena football game and knows the arena game versus the indoor game. So Beaumont's looking like they're going to have a very healthy roster, very, very deep roster, especially on the defensive side of the ball. So we'll have to see how they make that jump from NAL to the AF1 rules wise, and if they're able to keep up with the Joneses, so to speak. Will they able to be competitive with Albany, be competitive with Nashville on day one or week one, be competitive with Minnesota, who's kind of going through their own growth and development phase as well. You've got a couple teams in the AF1 that have some really deep rosters, and it's going to be very, very fun to see how it plays out. But this Beaumont defensive line is going to be very, very good. Then we're going to touch on the NAL as well. We're going to start with the Louisiana Rougarou. They signed quarterback David Perkins. So David Perkins is a familiar name if you're into the alt football sphere. He played in Mexico, he played in Germany, he played in the ELF. I think he played for the team in Prague. Forgive me, I'm not super knowledgeable of the ELF or the EFA, whatever it ends up being called. as well as some indoor football experience from the past couple of years as well. So the Rougarou, they really struggled to find an offensive identity for the majority of the season last year. They found it a little bit with Guillermo Serrano at quarterback, but he got wrecked. And so I think he got wrecked into the wall and got hurt and ended up missing the rest of the season in that game against Beaumont, which was a thrilling game, by the way. But I think the signing of Perkins will be a good boost for this Rougarou team, and hopefully will get them an offensive identity from day one, and it won't take them a few weeks to get there like it did in the 2025 inaugural season, where the first couple of weeks it was like, oh boy, this Rougarou team basically runs the ball for 3 yards in a cloud of dust and hopes for the best from there. But if they have a quarterback in David Perkins who might be able to stretch the field a little bit and open some things up, this Rougarou team could be a little sneaky depending on the roster that they're able to build around Perkins on that offensive line, at wide receiver. They have a little ways to go to really be competitive in the NAL, but this is a great start. So they got their, it seems like they have their quarterback. Now it's time to build around it. Then looking around the rest of the NAL, the Dallas Bulls seem to be signing a bunch of players to start to fill out their roster. We'll have to deep dive some of those players and learn a little bit more about them and see what types of experience they bring to the table. But I wanted to touch on the Southwest Kansas Storm. They signed a couple of very good defensive backs. They signed Draco Statham and Shaquez Bond to fill out that secondary. And it seems like the Storm are building the secondary first and then going down from there based on some of the signings and, you know, how they're going about it. But Draco Statham, he's a very talented defensive back who's been around the indoor and arena football landscape for a while now. Played in 2023 in Sioux Falls with our guy friend of the program, Clifton Duck. Spent part of 2024 with our 2025 with the Columbus Lions, I want to say. Spent some time with the San Diego Strike Force. Now he's coming over to play for the Southwest Kansas Storm and Coach Thomas. And Shaquez Bond, he's another very talented defensive back who's coming in. And I kind of like the approach of building out that secondary, because this arena and indoor football is a very pass-heavy game, even though indoor football is a little more run-heavy. It's a little more 50-50 there. But if you have a very good secondary and you're able to open things up for your defense, and Draco Statham does a really good job of baiting quarterbacks into throwing some passes maybe that they shouldn't. And this secondary is looking good for the Southwest Kansas Storm. And we'll have to see how they continue to build out the roster. They got their quarterback in Matt Struck coming back. He played for the Storm in 2024 in that AFL season after Jalen Morton got signed with the UFL. So this team's starting to look good, starting to come together. A little ways to go still, but no doubt Coach Thomas is going to have these guys ready to go. And Southwest Kansas is going to be a fun team to watch. And last but not least, in the NAL, we've got probably the biggest name signing in the NAL for quite some time in terms of name recognition and value to the market. Paxton Lynch, former first-round pick in the NFL for the Denver Broncos, ended up signing with the Colorado Spartans and is presumably going to be the quarterback one for that team heading into 2026. And Colorado's looking really, really good. It was looking like Colorado was going to be the team to beat if they could get the right quarterback in there. Will Paxton Lynch be the right quarterback for that? Time will tell. It would make sense that he'd be able to come in. It seems like his style of play would adapt well to it. He's a big physical quarterback who isn't afraid to initiate some contact, and that seems to have worked for Colorado in the past. But what kind of prohibited some success in the past was his ability to really open things up in the passing game. So that'll be a bit of a question mark going in. Will that skill set, and will he be able to translate that to the fast-paced, quick decision-making that's required in the NAL in this indoor football game? Maybe. Well, I have to see how it works out. He's got quite the supporting cast on the offensive side of the ball to begin with, and if he can be the quarterback that the Colorado Spartans need to help, be the straw that stirs the drink and just be the facilitator, get the ball to the playmakers, plus that name recognition, and hopefully bring in some eyeballs to the sport, bring some eyeballs to Colorado within the city of Denver, being that he was a Denver Bronco in the past. Never going to be a bad thing for eyes on the league, eyes on the team as well. I saw on socials as this was announced, as it was spreading, as it was kind of going viral, people were like, oh, I didn't even realize we had arena football. I didn't even realize we had a team in Colorado. So it's doing a lot of good in a lot of ways, and it'll be even better if he's able to, fill in that quarterback spot and pick up where Andre Sale left off last year and potentially go a little bit further than that. So big name signing for the Colorado Spartans, and they seem to be the team to beat on paper in the NAL. But time will tell if Paxton Lynch will be able to make that transition to the indoor game, and if he'll be the quarterback to take Colorado to the next level and get them to the NAL championship. One more league to check in on before we get out of here, the TAL, the Arena League. Things have been really, really quiet there since the Minnesota Monsters, formerly known as the Duluth Harbor Monsters, jumped ship from the TAL over to AF1. They are reportedly going to be announcing a team in the Memphis, Tennessee market very, very soon, probably shortly after this episode goes live on Thursday, November 6th. That's when they're slated to announce it. Team name, TBA at this point, but it kind of makes sense when you look at the map of TAL, and they kind of go down this one highway right down the middle of the country. Memphis is kind of right along that line, not super far from Arkansas and the Arkansas Diamonds there. So it's a good little regional partner for them. And more teams for TAL. We're expected to get 2 expansion teams this offseason. So Memphis being one of them. Do we see them go a little bit further south for the next one? Do we see them fill in some of the gaps somewhere? They've got their markets. They've got their teams picked out. It's just a matter of when they get announced at this point. Historically, Memphis hasn't been a great sports market, especially for minor league sports, and Memphis as a whole is a tough market, economically, and it's a tough town. Just calling it how it is. So hoping for the best and hoping that this will be something that fits, and hopefully it's something that's an affordable football experience to help that sports scene there. Because outside of like the Memphis Grizzlies and like the University of Memphis, or is it Memphis University? It's one of the two. You know what I'm saying? The Tigers. Outside of those, there's not a ton going on in Memphis, and it seems like that market is ripe for football, especially when the UFL is leaving with the Memphis Showboats. I'm not sure entirely where they would play at this point. You would think that like the FedEx Forum is just entirely too large of a venue. So do they go to like do they find like a smaller arena somewhere? I don't know. I'm not super familiar with the Memphis area, but we'll have to see as announcements are getting announced. And as you're watching this, it might already be announced at this point. So we'll see what ends up happening. And not many people know this, but years and years and years ago, there was an AFL team in Memphis called the Memphis Pharaohs. And they actually played some of their games in the Pyramid that is now a Bass Pro Shops. So they played some arena football in the Pyramid there. And I'm sure that was quite a scene, seeing the Memphis Pharaohs playing inside of a pyramid in Memphis, Tennessee. Memphis is also a city name in Egypt. So that's where the name Memphis comes from. They're like sister cities. So Memphis Pharaohs, Egypt, Pharaohs, they played in a pyramid. It was pretty cool. So do we see the TAL potentially lean into that naming wise and do a little tip of the cap to the history of arena football there? Do we see them lean into the, the rock and blues scene of Memphis? Elvis is famously a Memphis guy, not from there, but you know what I'm talking about. So yeah, we'll see what they end up announcing and what that second market to be announced is going to be. Let me know in the comments where you think the TAL should go after Memphis, and does it fit with their current map and how they kind of have things laid out market-wise. And that's the show. Thank you so much for taking the time to check it out this week, and big thanks to Coach Taylor Genuser for joining the program, talking about his journey, talking about the San Diego Strike Force, and some of the behind-the-scenes stories of what it's like running an indoor football team in beautiful San Diego. And him being from California, I'm sure it's a dream come true, being able to do what he does on a professional level in his home state. So yeah, go give San Diego a follow. Go give Coach Genuser a follow. Let him know you heard him on Off the Wall. Please make sure you're following us on all of our socials as well, at Off the Wall FB, F as in foot, B as in ball, Off the Wall FB. If you're there, we're there. Go check us out. offthewallfb.com. We got our t-shirts here. So get your order in for the t-shirts. We'll get those shipped out ASAP as possible. Royal Retros, affiliate link and code Off the Wall for 10% off in the bio below. And come join the conversation on socials and come say hi. There's only 24 hours in a day. In fact, they chose to spend about an hour 10, an hour 15 here watching the show, listening to me and Coach Genuser chop it up. It means a lot. It's really special. So appreciate all the love and support so far, and we'll keep this thing going as more and more stuff gets announced. So take care. Have a great rest of your week. See you on socials and see you in the comments. Bye.